but me, your man, Louie Tee. Welcome to Louie Tee Live. Divisional breakdowns is we're taking a look at each and every division in the National Football League and breaking them down, previewing the division schedules for each team, and then breaking them down and giving them overall finishes for the season and predicting what we think these teams will do in 2018. This is by far and away, and we're talking AFC North. Now, to wrap up the two North divisions, we already took care of the NFC North earlier tonight, and now we're going to wrap up the North divisions with the AFC North. And I've been kind of touting this and alluding to this being the best division in all of football in 2018. I strongly believe that, and my overall finishes for these teams and their records will bear that out when it is all said and done. I think this is going to be a phenomenal division, one that gives us some outstanding football in 2018, and it gives us some things to think about for the future in terms of this division and how it will go moving forward. We're all watching Hard Knocks. This is one of the best Hard Knocks we've seen in a while. It seems like this Browns team has something to them, and so they're going to make sure that there are no gimmies in this division. And when I look back at the records from last year, I didn't know that the Steelers went 6-0 in the division last year. I didn't realize they swept the entire division. That's rare because they normally lose to the Ravens at least once. And I didn't think that they swept the whole division. And then when you start thinking about all the games and how they were on the ropes against Cincinnati early in the season, should have lost in the jungle. That was the Ryan Shazier game. You look at the way that the Steelers performed last year, you almost forget they went 13-3 last year. And I don't know how I forgot, but the Browns went 0-16. Yikes! Zoinks! Browns went 0-16 last year. So we're going to talk about this division because they're not going 0-16 this year. I can assure you of that. This division, top to bottom, is legit, and I really like what's going on in the AFC North, and so we're going to get into that tonight. I want to thank each and every single one of you for tuning in. Obviously, if you've been here before, you know the rules to the game, then play. If you haven't, I'll explain quickly and then get into this divisional breakdown and start with the team that won the division last year in the Pittsburgh Steelers. But this is how it goes. You've got three forms of chiming in with your opinion on this show. You can call in, and I will put the number up a little bit later on when we're ready to receive calls. You can, and that's the first way. That supersedes any other line of communication here on the program. You want to get your voice to be heard, the fastest, you call in. Second is Twitter. Up above, you see the hashtag LabRoomFam. And over that, you see the Twitter handle @InTheLabRoom. That is how you contact me. Use the hashtag LabRoomFam to have your comment read on the air. That supersedes the final way to communicate. That's through the YouTube chat discussion. Use the hashtag Louie Tee Live to have your comment read there. So with those orders of business taken care of, let's jump into this preview and predictions video for the AFC North, and let's start with the team that won this division last year and most likely going to win it again this year, but don't count out these other teams in this division because I think this division is going to be really good. That being said, let's jump into this video, shall we? And we start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here's a team that last year went 13-3, as I said. Was a bad call away from having home field advantage throughout. It doesn't matter. They didn't get out of the divisional round versus Jacksonville, so that was a bitter pill to swallow if you are a Steelers fan. Nonetheless, they've got a chance to bounce back this year. Obviously, the Le'Veon Bell situation isn't ideal, but it was the same exact situation last year. He held out of the entire preseason, showed up for week 1, and he's going to do the same exact thing this year. So week 1 last year was a struggle in Cleveland. Week 1 this year will be a struggle in Cleveland. Last year, they got away with that game because of the rookie quarterback that the Browns started in that game in Deshaun Kaiser. This year, they won't be as lucky. They'll have a rusty Le'Veon Bell. And remember, it took Le'Veon Bell about a good 2 weeks to get back into the swing of things. He didn't jump in and start carving up NFL defenses. He was slow to start out the NFL season last year. It's going to hurt the Steelers again this year. And this time, they don't get away from the Cleveland Browns in week 1. All right. They go into Cleveland this year and they lose in week 1. All right. And so, you know, the Browns are building towards that game and they're going to get it. Steelers are going to drop the first game on the road at Cleveland to start the season out. But then the Steelers, in typical Steelers fashion, bounce back, win the next 4 games. And these include home for Kansas City, at Tampa Bay on a Monday night, no Jameis Winston, home for Baltimore on Sunday Night Football. You know, this division is one of those rare divisions where it really doesn't matter where you play. You can get it. All right. We watched the Ravens go into Baltimore and win all the time. We've watched Pittsburgh go into the Baltimore and win all the time. We watched Cincinnati go into Cleveland, win all the time. Okay. We see teams in this division. Cincinnati has no problem going to Baltimore and beating the Ravens. Vice versa, Ravens have no problems going into Cincinnati and beating the Bengals, as we saw last year. So this is a weird division like that. Most divisions, teams take care of their home and struggle on the road. This division, all bets are off, no matter where you play in the division. But I expect the Pittsburgh Steelers at home to take care of business in the division against the Baltimore Ravens. And then they beat Atlanta at home the following week in week number 5. They go to the Jungle week 6. And remember, that game was the most physical game. And just about every year, the most physical game on the schedule is going to be Steelers and Bengals. We all love those games. They've been a source of topic of discussion for the last few years. The playoff game 2 years ago, the game on Monday night last year. Cincinnati should have won that game. I don't know what happened late in that game. How they should have won the playoff game. It always happens where they find ways to lose to Pittsburgh. Not this year in 2018. It's a different makeup in Cincinnati, different mental makeup. So I think they're going to go home and they're going to protect the Jungle. And they're going to get the dub versus the Steelers in week number 6. So Steelers already having dropped 2 out of their first 3 divisional tilts. Now, they were both on the road, those 2 losses, but still, last year, a team that went 6-0 in the division, already 1-2 going into their bye week in the division, in which they show up 4-2 at the bye. They come out of the bye, and this is when things start to get real for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is when they turn it up and show you why they're the Steelers and why they're the creme de la creme of the AFC North year in and year out. They come out of the bye, and they win their next 7 out of 8. Okay, they get hot, dangerously hot, win 7 out of 8, and the next 8 out of 10 to finish up the season. So they beat Cleveland at home after the bye week. They go to Baltimore, they lose. After that loss to Baltimore, they don't lose again until week 16. Keep in mind, the loss at Baltimore, week 9. They don't lose again until week 16. They beat Carolina on Thursday Night Football at home. They beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville on Sunday Night Football. They go to Denver, win on the road there. They beat the Chargers at home in week 13. They beat the Raiders at Oakland in week 14. And they beat New England at home in week 15, a game they should have won last year. I think they win it this year. But then they go to New Orleans in week 16. And they drop that one in a shootout in the Superdome before finishing up the season week 17 at home versus Cincinnati in a game that they will eventually go on to win, which will also be for the division, in which they will win that game and win the AFC North at 12-4. So I've got the Steelers at 12-4. Let's go ahead, fill that in, and give the Steelers 12-4. Little step back in the division. Last year, they had the divisional lot going 6-0 in the division. That's not the case this year. They're 3-3 in this division after splitting with every single team in the AFC North. But we go to the next team from last year's finish, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. And let's take a look at their schedule. I told you a long time ago, after the draft, that I felt like, the Baltimore Ravens were going to be back this year. You know I'm a Joe Flacco guy. You know that's my guy. Joe Cool. Me and Joe get down. I've been a Joe Flacco apologist for years. And I've always said, when Joe has reliable tight ends to get the football to, look out. Here comes Joe Flacco. Well, not only does Joe have a full stable of tight ends to throw the rock to, Joe's actually got some receivers. He's got Krabs. He's got a number of guys. John Brown that can stretch the defense. Willie Snead. The list goes on and on. And there's so many guys. Joe doesn't even know what to do with himself right now. It's so much talent at receiver. And Joe hasn't seen this before. He doesn't know what this looks like. A couple of rookies that might make this squad at the receiver position. Joe is in heaven right now. Joe hasn't seen this much stuff since like 2012 when they won the Super Bowl. So Joe's excited. I'm excited for Joe. And you know the defense is going to do what they do. As long as they're healthy, they're going to be fine on that side of the football. They can run it with the best of them. Things may change. They've shuffled the offensive line a little bit. So that is a question mark. If they can't protect, if they can't open up holes in the run game, it will change the dynamics of the offense. But I like what I see in Baltimore and hence this outcome. Let's get into it. Week 1, you're home for Buffalo. That's a dub. Week 2, you're at Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football in the jungle. I talked about teams in this division not respecting other people's house. This is a real disrespectful division, all right? They don't care about family business. They knock on your door, and when you open it up, they palm your whole entire face with their dirty, filthy, nasty hands, push your back, take over your crib. And that's what Baltimore is going to do week 2 in Cincinnati. Go into Cincinnati, smack those boys in the mouth, come out with a dub. Then the following week, go to Denver and win, or excuse me, go home for Denver and take care of business there. Do I got the right schedule? I got the wrong schedule. I'm sorry. I got the schedule. This must be the schedule from last year because they went into Cincinnati and they did those boys in last year. Let me get y'all the right schedule, man. I apologize for that. I just looked up and I'm like, wait a minute. Those games aren't matching up with what I just said. So let me get the right schedule so you guys can see this Ravens football team and what they got in store in 2018. I'm excited for what the Ravens potentially will be able to do. And so got to get y'all the right schedule, though, so y'all can see what the Ravens might be able to do. So let's try to find the right schedule. Yeah. I got to keep going. All right. If I can't find it, then I'll just read you what I got. Let's see. There you are. Eureka. All right. Let's try this again. I was on a roll too. All right, so there we go. Got the right schedule in there. Let's do this again now. So I said they were going to win their first 3 games. Buffalo at home, take care of business. Go into Cincy, smack those boys in the mouth, win that game on the road on Thursday Night Football. Nonetheless, remember Cincinnati went in week 2 on Thursday Night Football and lost to Deshaun Watson last year. So if they can lose to Deshaun Watson at the crib on Thursday Night Football, they can lose to Baltimore at the crib on Thursday Night Football. So in any event, Denver, the following week at home, they take care of that as well. And so they're 3-0 to start the season off. Look out for the Ravens. And then here comes big bad Pittsburgh on the schedule. You got to go to Pittsburgh Sunday night. We already talked about that game. You're not getting that one on the road. So you get your first loss there. And then the following week, Cleveland's like, hey, wait. Let me get in on that action. Pittsburgh just got you at their crib. Now you got to come to our crib. We'll take a dub too. So 2 losses in the division back-to-back weeks for the Ravens after starting the season off 3-0. They're now 3-2. Ravens say, don't fret. They run off the next 2, home for Tennessee, and at Tennessee. They go there. They should have beat the Titans in Tennessee last year. They let that game slip away late. And then they're home for New Orleans. They're going to win that game. They're going to bottle up Drew Brees and that run game, and they're going to beat the Saints at home. But after that, they go to Carolina, and they lose. And they follow that up, though, with a big game right before the bye week, home for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Can't afford to lose this one after already losing to the Steelers and having already dropped 2 games in the division. At this point, you're 1-2. You got to have this one, and they get this one at the crib going into the bye week. So they're 2-2 in the division going into the bye, and they're 6-3 overall going into that bye week. As they come out of the bye, they're home for Cincinnati. Cincinnati's like, hey, man, you came into our house really disrespectful. We got to return the favor. Cincinnati comes in, snatches a dub away from them in Baltimore to even up that season series. But then Baltimore gets hot, winning 3 straight, home for Oakland, at Atlanta, at Kansas City. They go in their road warriors. They add another dub versus Tampa Bay to make it 4 straight before losing at the Chargers. But then bouncing back week 17 and closing out the season with a dub versus the Cleveland Browns. Translation, the Baltimore Ravens are 11-5 in 2018, just shy of the division crown, right behind the Pittsburgh Steelers at 12-4. So Baltimore just missing out on the division crown, but they are good enough to qualify for the AFC playoffs at 11-5. So we get to the next team in the division, one that I am stupid dumb high on this year, maybe to a fault, but nonetheless I gotta live with my faults, and it's the Cincinnati Bengals. I talked about this on my podcast a long time ago, about this division and how good I thought it could be. This is another example of just how good I think this division could be. And so let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. You look at their schedule. They start out with a road matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. Perfect time to get your Indy road matchup out of the way. Andrew Luck is still sore. He's still rusty. And you got an opportunity to go in there and win in a situation that you otherwise wouldn't. If Andrew Luck was good, if this was week 7, you probably lose this game. But it's week 1, so you take advantage of this opportunity with a rusty Andrew Luck. And you go in there and you get a dub right off the bat. So Cincinnati goes on the road and wins. The following week, we already said they lose at home on Thursday night to Baltimore, which is a disappointing loss for a team that comes off of a nice road win versus Indy. They lose that game. As a matter of fact, they lose the next 2, which makes it 3 straight. At Carolina, at Atlanta, they drop both of those games. Damn, Cincinnati starts off the season 1-3. Never fear, though. Cincinnati is here. They win the next 4 games going into their bye week. Home for Miami, home for Pittsburgh, at Kansas City, home for Tampa Bay. That's a nice little stretch to get back on track. And I think they do exactly that going into the bye week at 5-3 after the 1-3 start. They reel off 4 straight. They're now 5-3. They feel good about themselves going into their week 9 bye. They come out of the bye and they pick right up where they left off, winning the next 4 games. So if you're keeping score at home, 8 straight wins for the Cincinnati Bengals. They defeat New Orleans at the crib. They go to Baltimore and win to get a little bit of revenge after the loss at home earlier in the season on primetime television to the Baltimore Ravens. They win versus the Browns. They own the Browns. The Battle of Ohio always goes to Cincinnati. They're going to sweep the Browns in 2018. That's the first of 2 victories coming their way versus the Brownies. And they also beat the Denver Broncos at the crib, which now increases their mark to 9-3 on the season. So they're sitting pretty. They're right there, step for step, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then they come into a rough stretch at the end of the season. They lose at the Chargers. They do beat Oakland at home and do beat Cleveland in Cleveland, but then they lose to Pittsburgh in Week 17 with the division on the line. Winner takes it all, and Pittsburgh wins that game at home and wins the AFC North division. Bengals will finish, however, with a mark of 11-5. And because of the better divisional mark, they finished second in this division at 11-5, 4-2 in the division, which is actually better than Pittsburgh's divisional mark. But because Pittsburgh won more games, they are your division champs. So I'm really high on this division. We've got one more team left, and it's a little bit of extra sauce left for these Browns, man. So let's get into the Browns schedule this year and see what the Browns have in store for everyone after an 0-16 campaign, which followed up a 1-15 the season prior. So the Browns 1-31 over the last 2 seasons under Hugh Jackson. All of that is slated to change in 2018. I told you that the Browns start out the season with a huge win, and I think I got the wrong schedule for these guys as well. Let me see. Yeah, I got to get my act together, man. Got the wrong schedule here for the damn Browns. So let me get the right schedule for the Browns and clean that up. I was rushing to try to get up here, and I'm making all kinds of stinking ass mistakes. So let's get the right schedule for the Browns. See what I can find real quick. And if I can't find it, like I said last time when I was talking about the Ravens, I'll just give you what I got because I got the schedule written down. So I want you guys to have a visual as I'm doing it. But if I can't find their schedule the way that I want it for you guys to be able to see it, then to hell with it. So I'm going to look one more time. I'm going to do one more search for it. And if I don't find it, to hell with it. So let's see. All right. Here we go. I think I got the schedule now. Let me see. Let me see. Is that it? No, that's not it. All right. To hell with it. I ain't worried about it. That's not the right schedule, but we gonna move on. I ain't got time to be up here worried about the schedule. I know I got it written down, so we just gonna roll with it. Anyway, so they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers week 1. Week 2, they're at New Orleans. They're not winning in New Orleans. So that's an L right there. Week 3, they're home for the Jets on Thursday Night Football. That's going to be a great environment. I can't wait to see that environment. They're going to be excited. They're 1-1. That's something they haven't been over 500 in who knows how long. Excuse me. So the fact that they're going to be 1-1 at that point with a lot of hope, they're going to win that game, and it's going to be fun to see. The next week, they're at Oakland, and this is a disappointing loss because I don't think the Raiders are going to be very good. And you got an opportunity to beat the Raiders and get to 3-1 on the season. And if you can win that game, get to 3-1, this is a totally different season. This is a different outlook. But you lose that game, you drop to 2-2 on the season. And here's why that's so important. Because you win the next 2 games. You beat Baltimore at home, and you beat the Chargers at home. Yes, you beat the Chargers and the Ravens, 2 teams that might be in the postseason. In 2018, you beat both of them. You've beaten 3 really good teams that probably are going to represent the AFC in the postseason in this young season. And you could have been 5-1. You're now 4-2. But as we know with these young teams, the bottom falls out at some point. And after that, those 2 wins, they lose 2 straight. Another game that I feel like you need to win if you're serious at Tampa, you lose that game. Okay, one of those young teams, inexperienced, you go on the road, you're excited, you feel good, and you drop one you're not supposed to. That's that inexperience of a young football team. Then Pittsburgh the next week on the road, that's just not a game that you're going to get. You already got them once. Be happy you did and keep it moving. And then after that, you get 2 more wins at the crib versus Kansas City and Atlanta, both at home. So you're playing some really good opponents and you're winning. But all of your wins are coming at home. You're not going on the road and making things happen. And going into your Week 11 bye, you've already played 2, 4, 6 games at home. So you've got a bunch of road games coming, and you've struggled on the road, and this is why you struggle down the stretch. Your next 5 out of 6 are on the road, and you lose every single one of those road games. You lose at Cincinnati. You lose at Houston. You do beat Carolina at home. You've beaten some good teams this year. Some really good teams. Problem is you don't know how to win on the road. You lose at Denver. You lose at home in Cincinnati. You can't find a way to beat Cincinnati. And then you lose at Baltimore. So what was a very promising season, you got to the bye week sitting pretty at 6-4. You felt good about your squad. You felt like you had a chance to make the postseason, and then the bottom falls out, and you drop 5 out of your last 6 games and drops you to 7-9, 2-4 overall in the division, which is a huge step up from where you were last year. Obviously, there was nowhere to go but up from where you were last year, and so the Browns take a huge step in the right direction, beat some really good teams, and were in a ton other games. But despite the great start, you still fall to 7-9 on the season, 2-4 in the division. But you've got the respect of the rest of the teams in the division, and you're now a serious competitor in the AFC North division. So with that being said, let's get to your comments. And I'll open up the phone lines, and you guys can have at it. What do you think about the AFC North division? Whose division is this to win? How good is this division really? Am I tripping? Do I have too much confidence in this abilities? Do I have too much confidence in this abilities, this division's ability to be good? Talk to me about the AFC North. Let's get to your comments. Andrew Kim says, hopefully 9-7 or 10-6 for the Ravens. I got you at 11-5, bro. You know how I am about Joe Flacco when he's got weaponry. He's got weaponry this year. No excuses. He knows, and I liken it to Alex Smith last year. He knows he's got some dudes breathing down his neck behind him. Lamar may not be ready like Patrick Mahomes was last year coming into this season. I think Lamar may need an additional year. I don't think they're ready to start him next year, but still, he knows there's somebody looming in the shadows behind him, and I think that's going to force Joe to play even better in 2016 or 18, excuse me, and he's got a ton of talent available at his disposal as well. I've got a call coming in. I'm going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, how you doing? This is Brown Shoe, a.k.a. Tim.
What's going on, BST2?
Hey, what's up, man?
How you feeling about this division, man? AFC North. Talk to me about what you see happening in this division as a whole. I know you feel good. We've had a number of conversations about your Cincinnati Bengals this year. Talk to me about the excitement that you have for the Bengals and what you think they're going to do this season in 2018.
Oh, I think the Bengals are going to be definitely a sleeper. I know a lot of people are going to be sleeping on them. I'm trying not to be
overly
too excited
optimistic
because they've let me down way too much.
Yeah.
But I'm almost certain we're going to the playoffs this year, at least. I'm hoping that we'll get over the hump. But like I said, they burned me so many times. But I can't help but be excited for the team.
Okay, so give me the records for the division.
For the division,
Yep.
I actually think that the Steelers. I'm gonna have to say the Bengals are gonna be first, just because I think the Steelers are finally gonna go down a little bit, just because they have a harder schedule. Big Ben's getting older. Le'Veon Bell's not wanting to even be in Pittsburgh. I mean, there's a lot of things going on with the Steelers. They don't have not Ward. I can't remember his name. The linebacker who got paralyzed last year.
Oh, you're talking about the linebacker. You're talking about Ryan Shazier.
Yeah, Shazier. I'm sorry. Yeah, Shazier's hurt. He was a big part of their defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they still got a pretty solid defense, and they definitely got a really, really good offense. They'll probably go around 10-6.
Okay.
And I think that's about what the Ravens will do. And I think that you're about right with the Bengals. I think it's 11-5.
So you got the Bengals
and
going 11-5. You've got the Steelers and the Ravens going 10-6. What about the Browns?
The Browns, I think that they're going to go 6-10.
Okay.
I mean, it's definitely a lot better than what they've been.
Obviously.
But
I mean, 6-10 is a huge improvement for a team that didn't win any games last year. So.
Yeah. I mean, Tyrod Taylor is probably the best quarterback they've had in, 15, 20 years?
I think that's a fact. I don't think you'll get too much pushback from Browns fans with that assessment. So I saw that the Bengals extended 2 players today, 2 big players on that defense, guys that you wanted them to make sure they locked up. Is that a direct correlation to the releasing of George Iloka?
I really think it is. I think that that's the only reason why they let Iloka go. I mean, he definitely wasn't playing as good the last 2 years since Nelson left, but I think that's a big reason why is because they put him on free safety, and I think he was more comfortable on strong safety. But I think people are overestimating that loss. I think it is a decent loss, but I don't think it's that big since his play has been declining.
Yeah, and I mean, you drafted a safety, in Jesse Bates III out of Wake Forest. So I think they like him a lot, and they wanted to get him on the field. And the only thing stopping him was a veteran player that was respected in the locker room. So, in order to make room for a guy, sometimes you got to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I've really, really liked the Bengals off-season moves this year. I mean, I really like Pollock as the new offensive line because I thought that Paul Alexander needed to go a few years ago. I think I've told you that a few times. I'm really happy that we've got somebody who's not Ken Zampese as an offensive coordinator.
Right.
I think the coaching changes are probably the biggest things that we've done in the this offseason is getting better coaches.
Yeah.
And I'm really hyped about our first round pick. I say pick because we got a really good left tackle and we got a really good center from our first round because we traded back with the Bills.
Right.
And that really excites me about the Bengals too.
I mean, Andy Dalton with time has historically been dangerous. So
yes,
it's I watched him in that Bills game. Man, did he look sharp! We watched that together, as a matter of fact, and boy, was he impressive.
Yeah, I've always said if Dalton has time, he's going to tear some teams up, and he's never had a pocket that he could step into. He's always had very below average centers. He started off with Kyle Cook.
Yeah.
And he wasn't very good. And then he had Russell Bodine,
yeah,
who's always ranked one of the worst centers in the league.
And
so having a good center where he could actually step up in the pocket,
yep,
I think that's going to help the passing game and the running game.
Yep. And we saw a little bit of that, like I said, in the last preseason game. I'm bullish on this Bengals team, really this entire division, to be honest with you. And I think the Bengals are going to be a really good football team this year, man. I appreciate the call, though, BST2, man, as always. Always holding it down for your Bengals, man. Look forward to talking to you in the future, too, man. Take care of yourself.
All right. Thanks, you too.
Hey, no doubt. Me and him have discussions about the Bengals all the time, and we've been talking for years about Cincinnati, and he keeps me informed with the Bengals, and we've been, having a running dialogue about them. And I told him, and I talked about it on the podcast, and for those of you who have been listening, I said I thought that the Bengals were going to be one of the surprise teams, along with the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens will be as big a surprise. I think people think the Ravens will be good. But I always tell you the indicator for what the league thinks is primetime games. The league thinks the Steelers are going to be good. They've got 4 primetime games, as you would expect. Every year the Steelers are a marquee team on primetime television. But the Ravens only have 2 primetime games. All right, so the league is telling you, we think they're going to be okay. We don't think they're going to be great. And then the Bengals, 1 primetime game. That's a Thursday night matchup versus Baltimore in week 2. They don't have another primetime game. So the league thinks, we're good on Cincinnati. We're good. Thanks, but no thanks. So even the Browns have 1 primetime game, and we all know the history of the Browns. So if you got the same amount of primetime games as the Browns, that tells you all you need to know. Some of it is draw, okay? Some of it is matchup. They don't like the matchup, don't think it's going to be a great draw ratings-wise. So you may not be a cash cow in terms of ratings, so they don't want to put you on. But if you're a good football team, they will make space for you. Ratings or not, they will make space for you on national television. There's a reason the 49ers have 5 primetime games. They think the 49ers are going to be good, and the league is usually buzzing when the 49ers are good. They've got a great fan base, and, they come out in drones when the 49ers are good. But also, the league actually thinks Jimmy G is going to win football games in San Francisco, so they put him on 5 times. And so you can tell they're disrespecting this division just a little bit, but I think this division is going to open their eyes with their play. Christian McCoy says Bengals extended Atkins, Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap as well. So they both got their extensions. He said this D-line can be really special. He's so happy that they both got those extensions. Nick Riley says, I got the Steelers winning the division. Outside of the Jags, they're the only team that can challenge the Pats. That might not be the case this year. And the Pats, I think they could be in trouble themselves. They got a lot of issues over there in New England. We say that all the time. Tom Brady cures all, though. He's similar to Aaron Rodgers. We say this is wrong, that's wrong, and then they'll still go 13-3, get a home playoff, get home field throughout, and win the AFC Championship game and get to the Super Bowl again. You're on with Louie Tee live. Who am I speaking with?
Yo, it's Slip Ammo.
What's going on, Slip?
How's it going, man? Long time no talk.
It's been a while, man. It's been too long, as a matter of fact, man. Talk to me about this division. Talk to me about where you had everyone going record-wise. And then, of course, I want to hear from you on the Bengals. They've made some moves in this offseason. They've cut ties with George Iloka. They've re-upped on a couple of defensive linemen in Atkins and Dunlap. So talk to me about your expectations for the Bengals this season and this entire division. I'm bullish on the division. I've got 3 teams making the postseason. What do you say about this division?
That's a common thing. Those teams have made all 3 of those teams made the division before, twice in the last 6 or so years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the Steelers at 13-3, 12-4. You're right about that.
If you can turn your phone up, talk a little louder, one or the other.
What was that?
I said if you can turn your phone up or talk a little louder.
Oh yeah. Is this better?
Yes, much better.
All right. Yeah. Steelers. They go with 13-3, 12-4. I'm with you there.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Ravens in second place. I think the Ravens go 11-5, 10-6.
Yep.
That defense is good. Flacco's got a fire under his ass because Lamar Jackson's waiting.
Yep.
So he'll be performing a little better.
Yep.
I like their run game. I like Alex Collins. I like the defense still.
Yep. Me too.
Bengals, best case scenario, if everyone, I don't think everyone stays healthy. I think best case scenario with them is 10-6.
Okay.
That's with minimal injuries, because as soon as one person on that offensive line goes down, like Cordy Glenn or Billy Price or Clinton Bowling, that offensive line goes back to how it was last year.
Right.
And it's really just one long injury away before the offense starts sputtering. So I have them between 8-8 and 10-6. They could be 8-8, 9-7, 10-6. They could make the playoffs.
Right.
I like their chances, but I like that defense. And the Browns last place, but I don't think they're going to be that bad. they're going to be bad. They're going to be 4-12.
Ooh.
But,
okay.
Yeah. I don't know. You Jackson, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay,
But,
so you aren't as high on your team because you're still questioning the depth along the offensive line.
As soon as one of the good players drops, like if Cordy Glenn goes down, then you have Cedric Ogbuehi there, and we already know what that story is.
Right.
And they can't run the ball still. Even with this new revamped offensive line, they have problems run blocking. Joe Mixon's doing the whole 2.8 yards per carry thing again. And I think you saw the Cowboys-Bengals game.
I did.
As soon as they go up against a good front, like the Cowboys have a sneaky good defense. As soon as they go up against a good front, you see what happens. So
yeah, that was a disappointing preseason matchup, but it was preseason still. These teams don't game plan for opponents, and they don't try to exploit things that team doesn't do as well. I think they'll be a lot more prepared for better teams in the regular season than. But I did watch that game. I did see that they struggled. You didn't score with your first team offense. I think they had some turnovers, and I think you might have gotten a field goal out of it, but you didn't do anything offensively in that game. So I understand where you're coming from. Dalton looked a little off in that game, but he looked sharp against Buffalo.
Dalton still looked, even with the bad offensive line, I think he still put up a little better numbers than Dak that game. But Dak's working with nothing other than a run game.
Yeah.
And he's got a weak offensive line. So, it's whatever. The Dunlap signing. I love the Geno signing, right?
Yeah.
That's a great signing.
Right.
But the Dunlap one, I like it, but here's my problem with it. They have Jordan Willis, right?
Yep.
Carl Lawson.
Yep.
And they just got Sam Hubbard, right?
Yep.
So you have three good. Carl Lawson's a beast, but with Willis and Hubbard, I think Willis is due for a breakout. But you got good depth there. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. Here's the thing: they signed Drake Kirkpatrick, I think, last year or 2 years ago, and they gave him big money, and that was because Denard wasn't. He was a bit injury prone. Now he's not. So they just played it safe and went with Dre. But here's the thing: they gave, and they're still a cheap franchise in my mind.
Right.
So by giving Dunlap this money, either Denard's going to walk or William Jackson is going to walk. And I think Denard and William Jackson, at this point in their careers, compared to Dunlap, especially with the defensive end depth that we have, I think that signing one of them would have been a little more important. I mean, they still could sign them, but just to be safe, I'd rather have Denard or I think mainly William Jackson's on.
Yeah, I think they feel good about William Jackson because they got a 5th-year option on him. What is this? Year 3 for him, right?
Yeah.
So they feel good. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. As far as Denard is concerned, though, he wasn't a first-round pick, was he? He was?
Yeah, he was.
So they got a 5th-year option on him. This is year 4 for him, right?
No. I think this is the 5th year. I think.
Is this the 5th year? He's been in the league that long?
Yeah.
Whew, wow, time flies. Okay, I thought he might have been on year 4, but you're right. I think he was 2 years after before William Jackson. So this might be his 5th year, and obviously they picked up the 5th-year option. So he's essentially playing for his deal next year with the Bengals this year. So we'll see what happens.
You'd probably agree with me too that Denard is a better corner than Dre, because I've seen it like when Denard, Jackson, and Dre are on the field, offensive coordinators just attack Dre, and it's usually successful. So that's a little. I'd much rather have Denard and Jackson than Jackson and Kirk, but that's whatever.
Yeah. I mean that's generally the option that they choose is to go after Dre Kirkpatrick, but he makes some plays, he gives up some plays. I mean, what can you do? That's most corners in the league,
Yeah, but other than that, Bengals, they might make the playoffs. I think the Ravens and Steelers, I think they both get in.
Yep.
But the Bengals are borderline. I see them going like 8-8, 9-7, but that's with injuries.
I got you, man. I'm a little bit more confident in your team than you are. You're taking into account injuries. I'm not. I'm assuming health. So I feel like if they stay healthy, sky's the limit for this football team. And so I think 11-5.
If they stay healthy on the offensive line and mainly on the offensive side of the ball, they have more depth on defense that they can afford an injury. You know, I don't want an injury, but they can afford it. But on offense, it's like, you know, you don't want that.
I'd love to see Tyler Eifert stay healthy, man. He's such a big difference maker for that football team when he's healthy. I'd love to just see him stay healthy for once.
That's a big one, too. I think he'll be good. I don't think he'll see as many snaps as he once did, because I know the Bengals are cautious with him. Like, he's barely seen any preseason snaps. I think it'll change when the season starts, but I think they have enough confidence in cross-catching ability. But they'll use Eifert, and I think he'll be a beast. But, you know, once again, that's another guy with injury problems. But I think they'll be cautious with him.
All right, man. Hey, Slip, always a pleasure, dude. Don't be a stranger, man. It's been way too long, bro. Way too long.
Hey, Lou, you know what? Life down the way, man. I'm 24. You know, I'm busy.
Hey, I know how it goes, bro. I would always tell you, man, if you got shit to do, do that. You know, but if you ain't got nothing to do, I'm here, man. I'm here.
Yeah, that's why I'm here right now.
All right, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, you have a good one, bro. Take it easy.
All right. You too, man.
All right. Always good to catch up with my man Slip. Huge Bengals fan, and he doesn't think that the Bengals are going to be as good as I think, as good as my man BST2 thinks. So we're going to see. And he's not as high on the extension given to Dunlap. Loves the move to keep Atkins in the fold. He's one of the better defensive tackles still in the league. But Dunlap, like he mentioned, a lot of depth. I thought they were going to be willing to let him walk, him and Michael Johnson hit the bricks in the offseason. But Dunlap has been really good for them, and they want to continue to have that depth along the defensive line. They've got a lot of young talent, as he mentioned. You know, they've got Jordan Willis. They've got Lawson, Carl Lawson, who's playing really well. I think he's due for a big season. And they just drafted Sam Hubbard out of Ohio State. So they've got a plethora of edge rushers in the mix in Cincinnati. And I think they've got something potentially special brewing with Andrew Billings playing out of his brains in the preseason. If he continues to do that and stays healthy, Andrew Billings looks like a stupid beast coming up in 2018. And like I said, I wanted the Redskins to draft him once upon a time. It may have taken him a couple more years than we thought to really hit the ground running. But as I've always said, no two guys are alike. Everyone doesn't mature at the same rate. He got injured. Took him a while to get his feet wet, but he looks to be in incredible shape. He's making plays, and he's another reason why I think the Cincinnati Bengals could be a sleeper team in 2018. What up, Lightly Phenomenon? Emperor Meat says Steelers 10-6, Ravens 9-7, Cincinnati 8-8, Browns 7-9. So he's not as high on the division as I am. The only team he's got getting to double digits is the Steelers, and barely at 10-6. So he sees this as a down season for the Steelers. Still winning the division at 10-6, and everybody else kind of remaining where they were last year. Cincinnati was 7-9. He's got them at 8-8. Ravens were 9-7 last year. He's got them at 9-7 again. Browns 7-9, just like I do. Huge step up for the Cleveland Browns if they're able to win 7 games after winning no games a season ago. Emperor Meat says, you have the Bears as 0-16 in the headline, my guy. Do I? Did I put that? Is that what I did? I wouldn't put it past me to make that kind of mistake. I sure do. It is supposed to be Cleveland. Thank you for that. All right. Anwar Muhammad says, how would you rank the defenses in this division? All right, so you asked me how would I rank the defenses in this division. Off of potential, I'd have Cincinnati first. But off of what I know and what I've seen, Baltimore is first. But then I have the Bengals second. Then I have the Steelers. With Shazier, the Steelers were a different defense. You could argue they'd be number one on this list. As of right now, I've got Baltimore 1, Cincinnati 2, Pittsburgh 3, and I've got the Browns last. And it's a fluid list because the Browns have potential to move up with the way they can get after the quarterback potentially. And I want to see how their secondary functions. I'm not a huge, fan of them drafting the Ohio State corner Denzel Ward 4th overall over Bradley Chubb. So we'll see how that goes. And he sustained an injury in the second preseason game or the third preseason game versus Philadelphia. So don't know his status. I don't think it's anything too serious. Nonetheless, I want to see how that secondary turns out, in Cleveland. But I think that the Cincinnati Bengals defense, I like their secondary. Linebackers are the only thing that I have questions about. I'm not too high on their linebackers. And then I really like their defensive. I love their defensive line. I don't like it. I love their defensive line. Baltimore, they're just well-rounded. I still hate the fact that Terrell Suggs is the best they have as a pass rusher. Like, Terrell Suggs is 89 years old, and they still don't have – and he's led their team in sacks the last 88 years. When are they going to find someone else that can get to the quarterback? They had that one little, brief spell where Elvis Dumerville was there, and he was able to help. They don't have anybody else that can get to the quarterback. I'm still waiting for somebody else other than T. Sizzle to come off the edge consistently. But even without T. Sizzle being or having any help, because he's still getting there his damn self, I love what they do at the linebacker position. They just traded Camelé Correa to the Titans. Still like what they have at the linebacker position. I love their secondary. Even though Jimmy Smith is going to be suspended for the first couple of games. I still love what they have in their secondary. I think they got some talent there. So I go with the Ravens first, Cincinnati second, Steelers third, and then the Browns last. Let's see. All right, let's get to some more comments. Christian McCoy says, if William Jackson III takes the next step, he can be a shutdown corner. I've been really impressed with him, man. Really, really, really impressed. Brown Shoe T2 says, I'm glad we got rid of Iloka so we could keep Geno and Dunlap. And we talked about that on the call. Dark Sealer 1995 says, let's see if the Browns get a win before we say they're 7-9, Lou. I mean, this team is called the Browns for a reason. Hey, bruh, I'm telling you, it's different this year. Totally different. Tyrod Taylor makes a huge difference. The Bills are going to find that out. Just like the Chiefs are going to find out that Alex Smith made a huge difference. These teams are going to regret, it somewhat, letting these guys go. Eventually, I think Kansas City will benefit from their quarterback situation and Patrick Mahomes getting experience, but they're going to suffer in the meantime in 2018. The Bills, same thing. You made the playoffs and you trade him? Okay, cool. What you got? Oh, nothing? All right, cool. Well, you about to suffer for it. So the Browns are going to benefit from the presence of a veteran like Tyrod Taylor that's going to come in there and stabilize things. We talked. I had a caller call earlier and say, hey, he's the best quarterback, and he's not even a Browns fan. Best quarterback they've had easily over the last 15 years. Facts. Facts. So they're going to win some games. Maybe 7-9 is a little aggressive, maybe. We'll see. Jew 24 says, Andy Dalton has reached his ceiling. He can't win you the big game. Bengals 8-8, Steelers 11-5, Ravens 10-6, Browns 4-12. Well, you got to get to a big game in order to win it. Andy Dalton remember, I love all of this talk. I would have loved to have seen Andy stay healthy in 2015. The Bengals were 11-0. Andy Dalton was on pace to win the MVP that year. He was playing that good. Did you guys forget that? Because I didn't. When Andy Dalton is protected, they've got talent. I've always said, and I say this every year, similar to the Dolphins, the Bengals are one of the most talented teams in the league, top to bottom, 1-53. You look at their roster, they're chock full of talent. There's no denying it. They draft so well every single year that they just cycle talent in and out, in and out, in and out. One guy leaves, they've got 2 more to take his place. So it's not an issue of can they, it's will they. Because we know they can. They got to stay healthy, one, because the offensive line depth is not great. We've talked to some Bengals fans that have pretty much confirmed that. We've seen it with our own 2 eyes. We don't need them to tell us that. We've seen it over the last couple of years, especially last year. But I'm going to tell you right now, Andy Dalton is fully capable. You know, it's comments like that, and teams, they think like that. It's those kind of thoughts that make teams think it's okay to move on from Alex Smith when he's done nothing but win you the division. It's thoughts like that that have teams moving on from Tyrod Taylor. To what? Because, and I was talking to my girl, we were watching Hard Knocks, and she's like, why did they trade him again? Because every team in the league that doesn't have Brady, Breeze, Roethlisberger, Rodgers, or Brady, every team in the league thinks they can do better. That's the new thing now. Oh, we don't have Brady or Rodgers or Breeze or Rivers or Roethlisberger, so we can do better. We can find somebody else that can perform better. Even though our quarterback has won us 11 games over the last 11 games, an average of 11 games the past 3 seasons, we can find better. Even though our quarterback just took us to the playoffs for the first time since 1999, we can find better. That's the problem in this league. Everybody thinks they can find better. If you've got one of those 16 quarterbacks that are good enough, then you need to just roll with your quarterback and see what happens. Surround your quarterback with talent. Surround your quarterback with talent. But everybody thinks they can do better. And you may be able to, you know. But I don't know. You know, the Redskins, oh, we can do better. Really? We'll see. You know? That's the problem in this league. That's the mentality. Everybody thinks they can do better. Okay, we'll see. Dark Steeler 1995 says, I'm surprised the Bengals didn't have a clause in Atkins and Dunlap's contract saying they got to buy their own drop. What are you talking about, man? Oh, man, we got a call about to take it. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
Emperor Meech, bro. What's up?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Let me get into this AFC North, man. So this is tricky because they got the NFC South this year. So you know that's that's why I think it's gonna be such a down year because that division is very tough. So I don't think it's gonna be any gimmies. Plus, I think they all gonna kind of cannibalize each other. And the Browns, they just not gonna be rolling over and just getting free wins anymore.
Right.
Now, and I don't think they just gonna be free money.
Right.
I think because now I got the Browns going about 6-10, 7-9. I put 7-9.
Okay.
But I don't understand the hate that Tyrod Taylor get personally. Like people just look at him like, oh, he's expendable. I'm like, you know, Tyrod Taylor, he had a Pro Bowl year in Buffalo when he actually had some stuff around him.
Right.
So I just don't understand the hate for Tyrod Taylor. I think he'll be good for them. But it's really going to be predicated on their defense on the Browns end. I think they had a pass rush. But that secondary to me is still a little bit sketchy because they got Jabril Peppers back there.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of his.
I forgot who else. That cornerback, Demarius Randall.
Yep. From
Green Bay.
Yep.
I think they converted him to safety. So and then they got Denzel Ward, and he's like out with an injury. You're not even high on him. It's like we'll have to see about that. The Ravens are interesting. They always have great defense, great special teams. And they got Joe Flacco some stuff. But, you know, the offensive line's been banged up past couple of years. And Marshall Yonder got hurt last year, so I think that definitely really affected them as well. So, the Ravens I could see bouncing back. But, again, because they're playing in a better division, they're not going to get freebies off the Browns anymore so much. That now, with them playing the NFC South, it's going to be tougher. But they got Joe Flacco some weapons, so we'll see. We'll see how that works out. I don't like how Hayden Hurst already injured his foot or something like that, so we'll have to see about that.
Yeah.
Then the Steelers. Now, the Steelers are they Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, man. Like, when they at home, like, Ben Roethlisberger's, like, untouchable. When they go on the road, they just lose games that they should win. Like, it's like, why? For example, like, last year, it's like, how'd you lose to the Bears in Chicago? You should have won this.
Right.
Like, how'd this go down? And, like, I trust them, but something tells me, like, it's just going to be some games on the schedule that just lose. And then with their secondary not being the best, going up against the NFC South, that gives me some pause for concern. Especially, I don't know who they're going to have to fill in for Ryan Shazier while he's still rehabs from that spinal injury. So I'm in the middle of that defense with the inside linebacker going to be something to watch over the year.
Yeah.
And then the Bengals. They are the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC North. And as a matter of fact, of the AFC in general. They have the talent, but they just can never get it right. Just like, the owner of the team keep bringing back Marvin Lewis. It's like, they're just content with mediocrity. It's like, yo, this guy has not gotten the playoff win in like 17 years. When is it going to be enough for y'all? So, I don't know about them. And then, I think the line is better. And then they got Joe Mixon, obviously, back there in the backfield. Mark Walton and Giovanni Bernard. Okay, they got the stuff. Tyler Eifert is the wild card on the team because, you know, when he's healthy, he's a beast. But the thing is, he's never healthy. And he's coming off a back injury. So, you know how those back injuries are. And when he gets hurt, it takes him forever.
When he gets hurt, he gets hurt.
Yeah, he heals slow. Like, he needs that Wolverine regeneration power or something like that because it takes him forever.
It takes him a while to come back, for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know about that. I like what I said for John Ross. You know how people are after 1 year, which I hate. I know you hate when people say, oh, he a bust after 1 year.
Yeah.
I don't like that. But John Ross probably get them something they need, which is like the vertical threat.
I mean, did you watch the Buffalo game?
Yeah. I was watching it with you.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we saw what John Ross did on that play, and that's what he brings to the table, man. And so, if he can stay healthy, he's another one of those dudes. He's one of those expensive cars that you don't want to bring out too often. You know, you got to keep it tuned up, keep it clean, you know, because it doesn't take much for it to have to go in the shop. You know, he'll pull a hamstring on you quick and be out 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So they just got to make sure they keep that man healthy because he could be a big difference maker, similar to Will Fuller in Houston. Them dudes that run really, really, really fast, got to really make sure you keep them dudes healthy, man, because they'll pull a hammy quick, be out 4 weeks, and they're difference makers.
Right, and you see that happen. That's his injury history go back to Washington, where he tore his ACL, he had a hamstring. He pulled his hamstring during the 40 at the combine.
Yep, exactly.
So you got to be sketchy of them. But the question I ask for you and the rest of the chat is, who do you think going to be the biggest impact players for each team individually?
Okay.
That's all I got to say, man. Like, just want to see you the next stream. You got the next stream tomorrow, right?
Yep, 2 more tomorrow to finish up.
All right, I'm going to chime in then, and take care, bro.
All right, man. You do the same, man. Be easy.
You too.
Appreciate you. All right, so Emperor Meech basically asked the following of all of us. Who are the impact players, or who is the biggest impact player for each team? Let's take the quarterback out of the discussion, okay? Let's assume that we all know the quarterback is, you know, the biggest contributor to the success of an NFL football team. So let's take the quarterback out of the discussion. Let's assume the quarterback is playing good ball, whatever the case may be. Who is the biggest impact player for each of these teams? I'll start in reverse with the Browns, and got a call, so I'll have to wait on that. You're on live with Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Louie, it's John. How you doing, man?
What's going on, JP?
I'm good. I just got off work. I heard that you were doing the AFC North, so I figured I'd chime in and
yes,
talk
sir.
a little bit of division.
So
I got all kinds of cuss words just to let you know. Viewer discretion is advised for this one. I'm going to lay this division out, man.
Okay.
I'm done.
We're ready.
This division, it's amazing that how bad. Well, first thing I want to talk about is Steelers, because you know that they're in contention for the Super Bowl every year. I worry about this Le'Veon Bell situation that's going on, when he's going to be back. Eventually, he's going to have to come back because once the regular season rolls around, if he's this game guy, he's going to get fined, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think the Steelers are going to win this division again. That's only if Le'Veon Bell finally ends his holdout and gets on the field. I think this is last year in Pittsburgh, to be honest.
Yep.
He's going to be seeking big money elsewhere.
I agree. I don't think he's going to be back in Pittsburgh after this year. I just think it's been and look, if they offer him a huge lump sum, he'd be back in Pittsburgh. But I just don't see them doing that. I don't. And that's why they've been really preparing for life after Le'Veon. They've been really starting to gain confidence in the Pitt running back James Conner. They like him a lot. They're throwing him the football a ton. He's catching it. He's running it. They're preparing themselves for life after. And they really like this guy. And I liked him a lot, too, if you watch my draft wrap-up series. The do-it-all guy, Samuels, out of NC State. So they're preparing themselves for life after Le'Veon. They're putting themselves in a really good position to be able to move on from him next year. So I agree with you. I think this is his last year in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I actually, when you did the Redskins free agency special, I'm not sure if you got this comment, but before we made the move to draft Darius Guice, I was honestly suggesting Le'Veon Bell because even though he's a free agent back, and I know you don't like free agent back.
Yeah, turn your phone up, JP. I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that.
You good?
But the fact that this guy is so good at what he does, probably the most patient back in the league. I mean, the Redskins can't pass up a guy like that. But I'm happy with Guice. I hope we get him back healthy next year. And I mean, I'm anxious to see what the future holds for Le'Veon Bell. But I'm telling you, Bruce Allen would have pounced on Le'Veon Bell with the right price. But Le'Veon Bell is going to be seeking a big contract, more than what the Redskins will be willing to pay up, because Bruce Allen is a penny pincher. So, I mean, there's that.
So, talk to me about this division, though, this AFC North division. What are your records for all the teams in this division? Who do you think are going to win the division, and how many teams are they going to get into the playoffs? You said you had a lot to say, so let's hear it.
All right. Well, let's start off with the Steelers. I think they're the hands-down favorite for this division again. I got Baltimore as a close second, because I think at some point we're going to see Lamar Jackson on the field if they get sick of Joe Flacco. I know they've been talking about sitting him for a year until he's ready to play. I have a feeling Joe Flacco is going to see his job get taken sooner rather than later, because I'm anxious to see Lamar Jackson. In fact, I'm excited to get me some Lamar Jackson in an NFL game this year, because I like what the Ravens are doing. I like a little bit about their defense. I think Marlon Humphrey's going to be really good for them, the defensive back from Alabama. I like what they did on offense, adding Maurice Hurst to tight end. I hope that Ravens end Ozzie Newsome's final season as their GM on a high note, like maybe a divisional round, somewhere around there, maybe a wild card appearance. So there's that. And the one thing I worry about this Ravens team is their offensive line. The fact that who's that kid that they took in the 2016 draft, that offensive tackle, I think his name was, I forgot his name. He's the guy who's always injured. Ronnie Stanley, that's his name. The fact that he hasn't been able to, that Booker hasn't been able to stay healthy this year is just bullshit, because you can't protect your quarterback behind a piss poor offensive line.
Right.
And the fact that Stanley hasn't been able to stay healthy, that was I didn't really like the move at the time, but that was a completely wasted pick. And the fact that, and I think Marlon Humphrey should be the starting corner, because a couple of times their starting corners, who was that guy that got burnt in the Steelers game last year? Because I forgot his name. People were talking all ape shit about him, that he could not, that Antonio Brown was toasting him all night long in that game last year.
About Jimmy Smith?
I think so. I could be wrong, but But anyway, I like this Ravens team. I still worry a little bit about their offensive line. And now let's go to the Browns, my absolute favorite, man. The factory of sadness, the Cleveland Browns, Sean Mack's team. I'm anxious to see me some Browns. I'm anxious to see me some Baker Mayfield. What the hell? And Hugh Jackson's got to be bullshit with this Tyrod. This Baker Mayfield's not going to get first team reps because that kid has got. There's something about Baker Mayfield that I think he's going to be something special. And the fact that Hugh Jackson is. I'm not saying Tyrod Taylor's a bad quarterback. It's the fact that he's average. I don't think he's terrible. I just think he's average. I don't think he's the type of star Baker Mayfield is. And I think at some point we're going to see Baker Mayfield, especially if the Browns start off really bad, like 0-4, 1-5, somewhere around that start. Because this is Hugh Jackson's make or break year. I don't think he's going to last past October if the Browns go on the path that they're on. But I think the Browns are going to win at least 7 or 8 games this year.
Okay.
I think the Browns are going to surprise some people. I think Myles Garrett is going to have another good year. I think he's going to have 8 or 9 or 10 sacks. I like that kid from Ohio State, Denzel Ward. I think he's going to be a good player for them. I like their running backs. I think Nick Chubb and Duke Johnson. I think they could make a good pair in the backfield.
They signed Carlos Hyde.
Yeah. I like those guys. I like the wide receiver core.
What's your record? So what's your record for all the teams in the division?
Okay. Steelers 12-4. Mm-hmm. Ravens 11-5. Browns 8-8. And Bengals, I'm going to say 5-11, 4-12. Whoa. I don't think the Bengals aren't going to be any good this year. I really don't.
Oh, so you don't like them?
What?
You don't like them? You don't think the Bengals are going to be good this year?
I don't think so. Not with bum-ass Marvin Lewis running the show, because I've been dying to tear this guy a new asshole. 0-7 in the playoffs in 14 years. I know he's good in the regular season and all, but come on, man. You can't be a coach in the NFL for 14 years and be 0-7 in the playoffs. What is that?
Hey,
I mean, come on.
That's the Bengals, man. They don't like firing coaches, and he's done a good job, and they're comfortable with him. And so we've said Marvin Lewis has 9 lives, man, and the guy, he just refuses to go. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but it'll be an interesting division for sure. Yeah,
I gotta ask you one question before I let you get to the rest of the callers. What do you think? Do you think? I know this sounds an insane question, but I'm a big AJ Green fan. Do you think it's time for AJ Green to ask for a trade out of Cincinnati?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. AJ and Andy make beautiful music together. They've gotten him help. Just has to stay healthy. If Tyler Eifert is healthy, sky's the limit for that offense. Now he's in a really good spot. I think he's fine.
Yeah, it's just the fact that I feel sad for AJ. I know that the Bengals aren't that bad. It's just that I want him to win a ring. I mean, I want him to go somewhere where he has a chance to go to a contender where he has a chance to win. But I know they love him up there in Cincinnati. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I think he's in a good spot, and you never know. I think they've got enough talent to make some noise, and we'll see if they can do that this year or not. But
and that includes John Ross as well. I mean, he was bad last year, and I hope he turns it around because I don't like doing that.
He was banged up last year, so he looks a lot healthier this year, and I think he's going to help him. But AJP, man, thanks for calling in, bro.
All right, thank you, Lou.
Yeah, no doubt.
Enjoy the rest of it, man.
All Thanks. Right. We'll do. All right, so we were talking about the standout players for each team and the AFC North. I was going to start with the Browns. I look at that football team, and I said we're taking the quarterbacks out of the equation. I look at that football team, and I look at what they could potentially be, And when you watch Hard Knocks, you see that they feed off of Jarvis Landry. To me, they're dying for Josh Gordon to come back. They love what Josh Gordon brings. You see how happy Hugh Jackson was when he found out Josh Gordon was flying in to Cleveland and he was coming back to join the team. But they need a reliable player on that football team, especially on the offense, a guy that they can trust, just a leader in general. Jarvis Landry is that guy. And if he's healthy, he's able to play, he's going to produce for them, and he's going to provide them with a spark. It's hard to lead a team when you're on the sidelines and you're injured. If Jarvis Landry is healthy, which he's been throughout his career, I think he's going to be the X factor in Cleveland for that football team. They desperately need a veteran leader. He's come in and taken that job pretty much by the horns and become the leader of that football team, outside of the quarterback position, obviously. So I think that guy is Jarvis Landry for them initially. As you go on to the next team in Cincinnati, I'm sticking with the receiver position. Even though they've talked about the offensive line, you could argue Cordy Glenn at left tackle is as valuable as anyone on that Bengals football team, because if he goes down, they don't have an alternate option at left tackle. So you could make the case for Cordy Glenn in Cincinnati being the difference maker there. But I will say that it's A.J. Green. You take him out of the mix offensively, and who scares you in Cincinnati? If A.J. Green, generally, as he goes, they go. And when Andy forces it to him and throws 2 interceptions trying to force it to A.J., they lose. When A.J. goes off for 195 yards on 8 catches and 2 scores, they generally win those football games. He changes the way defenses play Cincinnati drastically. It's going to open up the run game. You can't afford to keep the safety down in the box because you have to dedicate an extra safety over the top. If you don't have an extra defender, he gets one-on-one. He generally wins one-on-one. So I'm going to go with A.J. Green, but you could argue Cordy Glenn is the most important player on Cincinnati's roster this season. You go to the Ravens. I look at the Ravens football team, and I think that when they're good, they play defense. They have one guy on their defense that can get to the quarterback. That's it. No Terrell Suggs, no defense in Baltimore. And that's a problem for me. I need them to invest. And they tried with Tim Williams. I don't even know what's going on with this guy. If you're a Ravens fan and you're out there, help me with that. What's going on with Tim Williams? Anyway, I have a feeling that, Terrell Suggs still has juice left in his ability to get to the quarterback. I think he's got something left in the tank. And without him on defense, they're not the same football team. Remember when he tore his ACL? They weren't the same defense. It's like night and day with that football team. You take Terrell Suggs out of the equation, they're not the same team defensively. And the Ravens are built defense first. So I'll go with Terrell Suggs. Even though he's 89 years old, I'll go with Terrell Suggs because without him, that Ravens defense just isn't the same. And then you go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and obviously we've seen life with and without Le'Veon Bell. Look, I know Antonio Brown is a stud, and he's the best in the game, and he does a lot for that football team, but they can't win without Le'Veon Bell. They're hoping to change that narrative because he won't be there after this year. That's why they keep franchise tagging him, because they understand what he brings to the table and how important he is to this football team. But I don't think they can win without him in the big games. Yeah, they can get through the season 10-6 without Le'Veon Bell. They can probably still win 9 or 10 games. They can't win 13 games without Le'Veon Bell. They can't win in the playoffs without Le'Veon Bell. We saw that in the past. So for me, last year I would have told you Ryan Shazier is the most important player, but he's not there anymore. Right now for me, it's Le'Veon Bell. With Le'Veon Bell, they're a very formidable offense that scares the hell out of teams and is capable of doing just about whatever they want. Without him, they're somewhat one-dimensional. I've got to call him and go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
Man, it's your boy Tone, man. Protect Sports was good, Lou.
What's going on, Tones? Turn your phone up.
Can you hear me now? Give me better?
Yeah, I can hear you a lot better.
Yeah, I get a little closer to the phone. My fault. Yeah, man. It's your boy Tone, man. Protest Sports.
Oh, you low again. You low again.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
A lot better, bro. Whatever you're doing right now, keep doing it.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, so talk to me about this AFC North division, man. You usually give us some good takes on these divisions. So break it down as you normally do. Tell me what you think is going to happen. Give me records and how many playoff teams we getting out of the AFC North.
We going to get, first of all, playoff teams. Ooh, this is tough. Ooh, man, I want to say 2. I want to say the Ravens so bad. I want to. Oh, after, give me 2. Give me 2 in the North. Give me 2.
Okay.
Steelers and the Ravens. I think the Ravens get the last team in the playoffs in the AFC conference.
You low again. You low again. You fading on me.
I think the Ravens will be the last team in the AFC playoffs. I think they'll be the 6th seed. They'll be the last team to make the playoffs.
Okay. So you got the Ravens getting in. So give me records.
Pittsburgh, give me 12-4.
Okay.
I like what they've done the offseason. They got rid of the headache in Martavis Bryant. I don't care. I know he's hell talent, but got the headache out of there. Kept crying about getting traded. Stick his ass in his ass pack somewhere.
You low on me again.
All right, DP. I was going on. Can you hear me now?
Huh?
Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me better now?
A little bit better, yeah. Not as good as earlier.
All right, they sent Martavis on the pocket. They shipped him off to Oakland. Pick up James Bond. Leon's still there. You got Big Ben.
Mm-hmm.
You got A.B. I love Juju. I love their offense, period. Their offense is just dynamic. Probably one of the most dynamic offenses in football. Their defense is something to tell, though. That's the only thing I am kind of stepping in about Pittsburgh. But offense, they can do it anybody. They can put 40 on anybody's skull. Anybody. Who won it? So I definitely think they'll win this damn division. It's all the offense alone. Give me Baltimore in second. I like what they did in the offseason, picking up Hayden Hurst, getting the other tight end out Oklahoma. We'll see what Orlando Brown's son can do in the NFL. I'm not exactly sure. We'll see. Wait to see the approach on that. But I do like they just try to push stuff around Flacco to help Flacco. Because Flacco's look terrible. Flacco look trash. And I don't know if we're going to see the 2012 Joe Flacco again, but it's the best chance we'll see him again. So we might get something around that 2012 guy who played well in the playoffs. I'd rather see Joe Flacco's never the best quarterback in the world. He can just cut down the turnovers. That's my thing. He cut down the turnovers. He's trying to manage the game a little better. He makes a few more plays here and there. They'll get in the playoffs. They went 9-7 last year with him playing trash. If we can just play mediocre, they should make the playoffs, right?
That's what you would think, but
exactly.
That's what you would think. Yeah, conventional wisdom says just do a little bit more, and you should be able to get over the hump. But we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, they were a bullshit bomb away from making the playoffs last year. So I think they'll get in. I think they'll get in. They'll win 10 games. They'll get in, and they might make some noise because I love what they did in the offseason. Their defense is always solid, so I think they're probably the most complete team in the division because they have a solid defense. Their offense is mediocre to okay, but they're solid all 3 phases of the game. I think the Browns will finish in third. I don't think they'll finish in last year. I think they're gonna finish in third. I love them picking up Tyler Taylor. Baker Mayfield is in the field this season. I don't care what no one says. This team is competitive enough to Tyler for all 16 games. I love them getting Juice Landry. If Josh Gordon is anything he was before he started doing dumb crap, oh God. And defensively, you see what Myles Garrett done this preseason?
Yeah.
Smacking people around and
just
bullying offensive tackles like they're trash.
Right.
Just starting them like, oh my God. He's going to eat. He's going to get 10 sacks this week. He's going to eat.
I think he's gonna get double-digit sacks too.
Yeah, he's gonna get them. He gonna eat, bro. He's a monster on crack. It's ridiculous. And I love what they've done this offseason. The last few offseasons, the last year they had 3 first-round picks, and all of them turned to be solid football players so far. I mean, some kind of didn't work out, but other than that, they have solid drafts over the years. They've been stop pounding talent. This is gonna turn to something. I don't see this all this talent you stop trying keep turning to last place finishes.
Right.
So I think it ends this year. I don't think they're gonna finish last no more. I got them at 500. They can go over 16 and 500. Yeah, I said it, damn it. You can go from over 16 to 500.
It's possible.
And we got the Bengals.
It's possible.
And we got the Bengals at the rear. I don't trust the Bengals. I'm sorry. They've been so talented for so long, Lou. So long. They've been winning 12 games every year for so long, Lou. It has to end eventually. They have sucked. They have underachieved for years. And I'm tired of putting my faith in the Bengals. I'm tired of it. Marvin Lewis is the fucking go. It's time for Andy Dalton to kick rocks. This team does not do well, period. They just don't do enough for me. They don't thread the needle for me. I love A.J. Green. I love Joe Mixon. I love what they have offensively. Outside the offensive line, not laying Cordy Glenn, but they don't thread the needle for me. See, Vontae Burfict, every time he starts playing well, he go get suspended. It seems like every time the Bengals start to get together and he gets hurt or something, it's that they never get out their own damn way. They're 6-6. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Everybody got all these faith in these Bengals. I have no faith in them. I'm done with it. Stop. 6-7. Marvin Lewis gets fired. New regime, new start, and I hope they get together.
So you got the Steelers at 12-4. You got the Ravens at 10-6. You got the Browns at 8-8, and the Bengals at 6-10.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh, by the way, the Bengals, they win one division game. I think both Pittsburgh and Baltimore sweep them. Book it. They're going to both sweep them. Get the broom. Get them out of here. I'm done with Cincinnati. I'm done with them. I'm sorry. I can't take it no more. I can't. I sound a little biased. I know. I'm so done with you. Can't take it no more.
Hey, go ahead, man. Hey, Toes, appreciate you chopping in, bro.
No problem, brother. I had it call. I was a little late, man. I was at work all day.
Hey, man, I feel you, bro. Get that bread, man.
Yeah, man. You already know what time it is, man. Good talking to you, Lou.
Hey, no doubt, man. Take care.
You too, bro.
So, Tones has the Steelers winning the division, 12-4. He's got the Ravens at 10-6, sneaking in the back door of the playoffs. Similar to what they tried to do last year. Had they won, they would have been 10-6 and snuck in the back door. He's got them doing that exact thing this year. He's got the Browns doubling. Well, not doubling. He's got the Browns halving their loss total from last year, cutting it in half from 16 to 8, as he's got them going from no wins to 8 wins in 2018. And he's got the Bengals at 6-10, a game worse than they were a season ago. I think they're more talented this year than they were last year. So we're going to see. I'm high on them. I know people aren't buying what I'm selling, but I think it's pretty interesting what this division could be if everyone remains healthy. Christian McCoy says, getting hostile about Dalton in the comments. LOL, what's your opinion on Dalton? Above average. I've stated my opinion on Andy Dalton. I think he's a good quarterback in this league. He's not great, and I've done my tiers, and I probably need to update that. But Andy Dalton is a guy that you can win with in this league. You know, you put the right players around him. Andy Dalton can take you where you need to go. I know that people will kill Andy for not winning. Matt Ryan had been in the playoffs a bunch of years and hadn't won a game until until like 2000. I think 12 was his first year winning a game when they went to the NFC Championship game and lost a game that they were up 21-0 in, I believe they were, against San Francisco, and blew that lead and lost. Matt Ryan had been in the playoffs a bunch of times and hadn't won until 2012. So, Andy Dalton is a guy that I think you can win with. And, I think he's fine. He's not elite, but you don't have to be elite to win in this league. We've seen that already. You don't have to be elite. You just need to have a good team around your quarterback. You got an elite quarterback, your team doesn't have to be elite. But if you don't have an elite quarterback, you can still win if your quarterback is good enough. You just got to have better talent around your quarterback. That's it. The Browns have everything. The Bengals have everything they need to win. Now they just got to go out and execute. Stay healthy and go out and execute. They got enough talent to win. Redskin Pride says, Lou, can you pass our business card around the AFC North? Let them know we're shopping for an offensive guard or two. You guys are hilarious. Hilarious. All right. Let's go back up. Skipped over a bunch of comments. Anwar Muhammad says, Browns have a ton of talent, but I don't know if Hugh Jackson is the right coach for them. We're going to find out this year. I like Hugh a lot. I really do. And I think that's why they stuck it out with Hugh for one more year, because they believe in Hugh Jackson as well. And I believe in Hugh Jackson. And a lot of people wanted him gone, and I still do after 1-31. If they can't win 6 games this year, Hugh's gone. You know, I don't know what the expectation in Cleveland is. Obviously, you ask anybody in Cleveland, they think they can win a bunch of games. But realistically, it's a process. And you can't skip steps. Generally, you can't. You know, the Rams, they skipped some steps last year. You're not supposed to go from, 2-14, 3-13, 4-12 to 11-5. Generally, you don't do that. But you can skip steps only if you have the ingredients necessary. I don't know if they have all the ingredients necessary to skip steps. We're going to find out this year. Caesar Augustus says, do you think Joe Flacco hype is real since he's had to deal with his replacement behind him? I told you, I think Joe Flacco's about to have a hell of a season. And it's not even because of having Lamar Jackson behind him. This isn't an Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes type situation. Because I don't think Lamar Jackson is ready to play. But I just think Joe's got talent around him. Joe's never had dudes to throw the rock to. That's always been my gripe with the Baltimore situation, is that get Joe some weapons, man. Damn. Y'all got Joe out there throwing to – y'all always get an aging veteran at receiver, and you like to think they got 3 or 4 tight ends, and then 2 of them end up getting hurt. Somebody gets suspended, and all of a sudden – Joe's throwing to who knows who. Some dude from bum off, Wisconsin. Like, bro, who are these guys? You just picked this dude up 2 weeks ago. Why is he throwing to Why is he throwing to Thompson? Who is this guy? Deontay Thompson. What are we doing here? Like, we got to be better, man. You got to, and for too long, I think they weren't able to admit they made a mistake with Bashad Perriman. At some point, you do, all right, man, we messed up. We messed up. And they finally said that this year, like, all right, we cool. If we got to cut him this year, we will. We got enough receivers now. Like, at some point, you got to cut ties with guys. When you make a mistake, you got to say, we made a mistake. You made a mistake. It happens. I do believe Joe Flacco is going to have a big year. So, yes, I do believe the hype is legit surrounding Joe Flacco this year. And for me, it doesn't have anything to do with Lamar Jackson being behind him. I just think they got him some actual talent and guys he can throw the football to. BK Soldier 2018 says, you pay any attention to Jalen Ramsey's comments? If so, your thoughts. I did see what he said. If you're talking about Odell Beckham, we'll talk about that tomorrow when we break down the we already talked about the South, so I guess I could talk about it here since we got the West tomorrow. If you're talking about the Odell Beckham comments, I ain't got nothing to say about it. I mean, it's just him basically talking trash, and this is what we see him do with the good players in this league, and even the bad ones. We saw him with the GQ article and what he said about the quarterbacks. So if you're talking about that, I don't have anything to say. I mean, he said what he said. It is what it is. Now he's got to go out and back it up, And he talked about Andrew Luck, said he was overrated. You got to see that man 2 times a year, so you better back up what you said. That's basically all I have to say about that. Dark Sealer 1995 says, I think when you have a coach who has 1 win in 2 years, he loses credibility in the locker room. You see Hugh babying the players because they think that's his way of earning their trust back. I don't think he's babying the players. Like the situation with the receiver out of Florida. He told him, look, you know, I got your back if what you're telling me is true. Now, you're going to play this entire game versus the Giants as punishment. But if I find out you were lying to me, your ass is done. Like, he's basically told that to his players. You get one mulligan with me, and if you screw me over, you're done. And so I think he's going about it the right way, man. I like Hugh Jackson, and I think he's got a shot in Cleveland. And this is it, though. He's got to take advantage of it this year. Slip Ammo says the defense alone could win Cincinnati games. That front four can be insane with Atkins, Billings, Dunlap, and Lawson. Throw in William Jackson III and Denard at corner. Sheesh. He says still 10-6 at best. I like that defense. I saw a number of your comments as I was scrolling down when we talked about ranking the defenses. And I seen some people throwing Cincinnati at the back. I don't know what you're looking at, but we can't be watching the same teams on defense if you think Cincinnati, when healthy, is the worst defense in this division. We're not watching the same teams. John Perez says, Josh Gordon better stay off the damn weed and make magic with Mayfield and Landry. Well, it's not Mayfield yet. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor, and that's the right thing to do. Biggest impact player in the entire division, at Slip Ammo. The biggest impact player in the division is, I think the biggest impact player in the division is, I think it might be Le'Veon Bell, honestly speaking. Like, when you got a guy that touches the football that much, how can he not be the guy that's the impact player? Le'Veon Bell changes games. I remember one game, matter of fact, the game he got hurt in like 3 years ago versus Cincinnati, Steelers were going to beat them in that game. Le'Veon Bell goes down early in that game, and then Cincinnati beats him. Like, he changes games, man. So, for me, it's Le'Veon Bell. He's the difference maker. That's why the Steelers continue to franchise tag this man, because they know that with him, they're a Super Bowl contender. Without him, they're a good football team, but they're not a Super Bowl contender. So, I'd go with Le'Veon Bell. Dark Sealer says, I think Ozzie Newsome hurt the Ravens franchise. He was great early in his tenure, but I felt like last few years he missed on too many knees like wide receiver and pass rush. I do too. I don't know if he hurt them necessarily, but you miss. As a GM, you miss. You know, my problem with what they've done over the last couple of years is that they've missed on players and they have been reluctant to move on from guys they missed on. You know, sometimes you just got to admit, yeah, that dude don't have it. You know, you watch him in practice, you see, you know what's good. Probably more so than us watching the game, that guy don't have it. And you got to be willing to admit you made a mistake, like the Jets did with D. Milliner. We made a mistake. You got to move on. You can't sit there and dwell on your mistake. The Browns realized quickly we made a mistake on Deshaun Kaiser. They moved on. That wasn't the right situation for them. Move on. You got to be, and it's different to move on from a second or a third or a fourth round pick than a first round pick. I get that. But you got to admit you made a mistake. You know, Max Williams in Baltimore. I don't like calling guys bust, especially when they're only in like year 3. And I think Max Williams is only in year 3, 4 maybe. Either way, you got to admit you made a mistake. They did that this draft by drafting 2 tight ends. Like, Max Williams isn't that dude. We got to move on. You just got to admit you made a mistake. So, I'm hoping that that's what, you know, they'll be able to do moving forward. But I think Ozzie's done too many good things throughout his tenure to have it overshadowed by a few misses. Yeah, he's had some misses of late. He's also had some hits. So I think that wide receiver, that was one of those positions that they thought we can get by on. And they had gotten by on receiver throughout Ozzy's tenure with veterans. Derek Mason, Anquan Bolden, Steve Smith Sr. They've gotten by with veteran receivers, so they thought they could continue to do that. And eventually you got to say to yourself, all right, we got to stop going the senior circuit, and we got to go get us a young star. And they thought they had done that in Bashad Perriman. They were wrong, but they wouldn't admit they were wrong, so they kept trying to make that square peg fit into a round hole, and they needed to just move on. And they finally did this offseason. And that's why I think they have a chance to be good. Because they realized Max Williams ain't the answer, Bashad Perriman ain't the answer, and they're moving on from both of those players, and they did that this offseason. And it took them maybe 1 or 2 years too long to make that decision. Redskins Pride says Ravens made a mistake turning down Ryan Grant. No, they didn't. And I love Ryan Grant just as much as the next man. They'll be just fine without Ryan Grant. Blackbird Blitz says, has any team featured on Hard Knocks ever made the playoffs that year? I don't know that to be the case. I don't think any team, but we didn't expect the Browns to make the playoffs. And remember, they made a rule a few years back that states that playoff teams are exempt from Hard Knocks unless they want to do it. They don't have to. But any team that missed the playoffs, so if you made the playoffs the previous year or you have a new head coach, you don't have to be on Hard Knocks. You're exempt if you want to be exempt. But if you did not make the playoffs last year and you got the same head coach, you don't have a choice. If the league says, hey, you're on Hard Knocks, you're on Hard Knocks. And generally, that's bad teams being put on Hard Knocks. So it kind of goes in line with when Hard Knocks first came out, they were following good teams. Like, they followed the Ravens the year after they won the Super Bowl. But generally now, you're getting bad teams up there, i.e. Tampa Bay. They were on the cusp, though. Remember, when they were on Hard Knocks last year, they were coming off of a 9-7 record. Everybody thought they were going to be good, so except me. So I don't think that there have been many teams. They're probably, if you go back and look, there have probably been 1 or 2 teams that have actually done some damage off of Hard Knocks. But you might be right. I can't remember in recent memory any team having real success off of Hard Knocks. JP says, if Bashad Perriman stinks again, he's gone. He said it's a shame because of all of the talent and speed that he has. He's got to go, though. Dark Silla says, Perriman is a... Oh, okay, yeah. I'm not reading that. You got me a couple of times. You don't give me no more. You're not going to give me any more, dude. All right, so that is it. We've got no more comments and no more calls. So that is going to do it for the AFC North division. I am a lot higher on this division than most. I have this division getting 3 teams in. I've got 3 teams with 11 or better wins. And I think this division is going to be really, really good. I got the Browns going 7-9. That's how much confidence I have in this division's ability to get it done. I think there are no pushovers in this division. They play a tough schedule. They play the NFC South, and I think they're still going to do damage. This division, excuse me, has a chance to really, really surprise the entire National Football League. And so looking forward to seeing how this division does in 2018. So that's going to do it for your man Louie Tee here on this AFC North preview and predictions video. Thank you guys for joining me. All the calls that came in, all of the comments, all of those things. It's been fun. Another great day in the books, breaking down the NFC and AFC North. Tomorrow we'll do the same with the NFC and AFC West divisions. So come back tomorrow, later start, so I give the West Coast a little bit more time to get home and get settled. We're starting at 8 and 10 tomorrow for those 2 breakdowns. So I will see you guys then. Remember, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network if you haven't already done so. I will see you guys next time. Thank you for joining me. Have a good one.
Louie Tee Network.